Hello, my dear friends. I'm Dr. Edward Thompson, a medical nutrition specialist here in the United States, and I've spent over 5 years working side by side with people over the age of 50, walking with them through the challenges of heart disease, high cholesterol, weight struggles, and all the quiet fears that come with aging. And if there's one truth I've learned, it's this: our bodies don't whisper, they speak. But often they speak too quietly for us to notice until it's almost too late. You see, cholesterol is one of those silent messengers. When it rises, when it builds in our blood, it doesn't knock on the door and say, "Hey, I'm here." No, it hides. It settles slowly, coating the walls of our blood vessels, narrowing the path where life itself, our blood, should flow freely. And the cruel part is, most people don't feel a thing. No pain, no warning. They keep eating the same foods, living the same way, believing they are fine. And then one morning, it could be during breakfast or during a quiet walk, something happens. A sudden tightness in the chest, a dizziness, a collapse, a stroke, a heart attack. And everyone says, "But he looked so healthy yesterday." That, my friends, is the quiet betrayal of high cholesterol. Now let me speak to you not just as a doctor, but as someone who has sat across from thousands of patients, many over 60 like you, listening to their stories, their regrets, their hopes. I've seen men in their 70s, tough men who worked all their lives, break down in tears when I explained that their arteries were 80% blocked. I've seen women who thought they were just a little overweight discover that cholesterol had been silently pushing them closer to a heart attack for years. And what breaks my heart is this: so much of it could have been prevented simply by paying attention to what we put on our plates each day. The truth is, food is never neutral. Every bite is either medicine or poison. Sometimes the poison tastes delicious, it crackles, it sizzles, it comforts us with memories of family dinners, barbecues, and celebrations. But hidden inside are fats and sugars that quietly damage the lining of our arteries. They don't strike today, but they accumulate layer upon layer until one day the body cannot bear it anymore. That's why I made this video for you, my friends over 60, who deserve not just more years, but better years. Years with energy, with freedom, with the ability to chase after your grandkids, to walk in the park without pain, to wake up each morning without the shadow of fear in your chest. Today, I want to take you on a journey. We'll look at the foods that, while familiar and comforting, may be sabotaging your health. I'll explain why they harm you, not with complicated science, but with simple truths you can hold on to. And I'll share with you the lessons I've gathered from patients who turn their health around not by magic pills, but by small, consistent changes in their everyday meals. So let's begin this journey together. Take a deep breath with me. Think of your heart not just as an organ, but as the engine of your story. It's been beating faithfully for over 6 decades. It has carried you through laughter, grief, victories, and quiet nights. Don't you think it deserves some care, some protection, some gratitude? Next moments, I'll show you how to give that gift back to your heart, not by fear, but by knowledge. Not by restriction, but by wise choices. Because here's the secret: it's not about eating less, it's about eating right. Stay with me, because what you'll hear may just save your life or the life of someone you love. Let's take a moment to understand cholesterol. You hear the word all the time on TV commercials, in the doctor's office, maybe written on your blood test results. It almost sounds like a villain, doesn't it? High cholesterol. But the truth is more complicated. Cholesterol is not evil. In fact, it's essential. Every cell in your body needs it. Your brain, your hormones, even your vitamin D all depend on cholesterol. So why does something so necessary become so dangerous? It's not the presence of cholesterol itself that harms us. It's the imbalance, the excess, the way it builds up silently, especially as we age. Think of your bloodstream like a highway. Cars are supposed to move freely, delivering goods, bringing life to every corner of the body. But now imagine trucks loaded with sticky tar parking on the shoulder, spilling onto the road, narrowing the lanes. That's what happens when bad cholesterol, or LDL, gets too high. It clings to the inner walls of your arteries, forming plaques, tiny scars that grow harder over time. Now here's the catch. This process is quiet. There's no pain, no fever, no alarm that goes off in your chest. You can be laughing with your grandchildren, feeling perfectly fine, and meanwhile inside your arteries are slowly hardening, and the risk grows with age. Why? Because the older we get, the more miles our highway has traveled. The walls of our blood vessels aren't as smooth as they were at 20. They're more fragile, more prone to damage. Combine that with years of meals rich in fatty cuts of meat, fried foods, sugary drinks, and processed snacks, and you've built the perfect storm. I remember one patient, Mr. Harold, 68 years old. He came to see me not because of chest pain, but because he was simply tired all the time. He thought it was just getting older. But when we ran his test, we found his cholesterol sky high, his arteries clogged at nearly 70%. What he thought was aging was in truth his body struggling to push blood through narrow passageways. After changes in his diet and lifestyle, Harold came back months later with more energy than he'd had in years. He told me, "Doc, I thought old age meant slowing down. Turns out it was my cholesterol slowing me down." Stories like his remind me daily what we blame on just age is often something we can change. Now you might be wondering, but doctor, my cholesterol runs in the family. Isn't it just genetic? Yes, genetics do play a role. Some people were born with higher cholesterol level, but here's the truth. I've witnessed again and again, your lifestyle is louder than your genes. Even if your family has a history of heart disease, what you eat, how you move, how you rest, these choices write the story of your arteries more powerfully than your DNA ever could. Science backs this up. Studies show that for most older adults, diet and lifestyle account for nearly 70 to 80% of cholesterol outcomes. That means you hold the steering wheel. And here's another thing, cholesterol doesn't travel alone. It comes with friends, triglycerides, blood sugar, blood pressure. They walk hand in hand. High cholesterol rarely shows up in isolation. Often when I see one number creeping up, the others are following close behind. That's why doctors talk about metabolic syndrome, a cluster of issues that all raise your risk for heart disease and stroke. But I don't tell you this to scare you. I tell you this because it means one simple change can ripple outward. Lowering your cholesterol often lowers your triglycerides. Eating smarter improves your blood pressure. Walking daily improves your blood sugar. The body is interconnected more than we realize. So where does this leave us? It leaves us with hope. Because even if you're over 60, even if you've been eating the same way for decades, change is possible. I've seen arteries clear. I've seen numbers drop. I've seen energy return to tired faces, not through extreme diets or expensive supplements, but through steady, mindful changes. Friends, cholesterol is a story, and like any story, it can be rewritten. Your heart may have carried burdens for many years, but it is resilient. It is waiting for you to lighten its load. In the next part, we will uncover the foods that quietly betray us, the everyday meals that seem harmless, even traditional, but which may be the very reason your cholesterol and your risk of heart disease are rising. These foods are familiar, perhaps too familiar, and by understanding them, you will learn not just what to avoid, but how to reclaim power over your health. Stay with me, because what you discover next may forever change the way you look at your dinner plate. The hidden foods that harm the heart. Now let's talk about the foods that quietly work against us. These are not rare delicacies or strange items you'd never touch. No, these are the everyday foods that sit on our tables, comfort us with their flavor, and yet betray our hearts when eaten too often. The first one is organ meats, the liver, kidneys, intestines, even the brain. In many cultures, including here in America and back in my own family's kitchen, these foods were once considered a treasure. Eat liver, it's good for iron. Eat brain, it's good for your brain. Perhaps you've heard these sayings, but science tells us another story. Organ meats are loaded with cholesterol. A small serving of pork liver, for instance, can contain nearly your entire day's recommended limit of cholesterol in just one meal. For someone already struggling with high cholesterol, this is like pouring fuel on a fire. I recall a patient, Mrs. Alvarez, who loved making liver stew every Sunday. It was her comfort food, the dish that reminded her of her childhood. But she also had a history of high blood pressure and high cholesterol. When I explained to her that her Sunday stew was undoing much of the progress she was making with her medication, she looked at me with tears in her eyes. But doctor, she said, it's the food that feels like home. I understood, and I told her home can still be comfort, but comfort doesn't have to cost your health. Together, we worked on new recipes using beans, fish, and vegetables that gave her the same warmth without the silent danger. The second culprit is red meat, especially the fatty cuts. Beef, pork, lamb foods that have fed families for generations. They are rich in protein, iron, and B vitamins, yes, but they also carry heavy loads of saturated fat, which drives up LDL cholesterol. The danger isn't in eating red meat once in a while. It's in the habit of eating it often in large portions, and especially when cooked in ways that add more fat, like frying or grilling with lots of oil. Let me put it simply, a steak once in a blue moon won't break your heart, but a steak every night just might. There's something subtle here too. As we get older, our bodies don't process saturated fats as efficiently as when we were younger. What our livers once burned through with ease now lingers, builds, and sticks. This is why a diet that felt fine at 30 can be devastating at 60. Another food we must be careful with is fried food. French fries, fried chicken, donuts, tempura, the crispy golden crunch that makes our mouths water. I understand it's delicious, but the oil used to fry, especially when heated again and again in restaurants, creates something called trans fats. And trans fats are among the most harmful substances you can put into your body. They not only raise LDL cholesterol, but also lower HDL, the good cholesterol, the one that actually helps clean your arteries. It's a double betrayal. I remember a gentleman in his early 70s, Mr. Collins, who came to me after his second mild heart attack. He confessed, "Doc, I couldn't give up my fried chicken." It was a ritual. Every Friday night, he and his buddies would gather for fried chicken and beer. That ritual, though sweet in memory, was bitter in consequence. When he finally found alternatives like oven-baked chicken with spices, he not only reduced his cholesterol, but he told me he discovered something he hadn't felt in years: lightness, not just in his body, but in his spirit. Then we must speak about processed foods, sausage, bacon, deli meats, canned meats, and the countless packaged snacks lining grocery store shelves. They are convenient. They save time. But convenience often hides a cost. These foods are packed with sodium preservatives and hidden fats that fuel inflammation and push cholesterol higher. I often tell my patients when a food comes wrapped in bright plastic and lasts months on a shelf, it probably won't bring life to your arteries. And then, of course, there's sugar. Not just the sugar you stir into your coffee, but the sugar hiding in soft drinks, pastries, breakfast cereals, even sauces. Excess sugar gets converted by your liver into triglycerides, another form of fat in the blood. High triglycerides travel hand in hand with high cholesterol clogging arteries and fueling heart disease. One can of soda with nearly 40 grams of sugar can send your blood sugar soaring, your insulin scrambling, and your liver working overtime to turn that sugar into fat. Finally, we must mention animal skin. The crispy skin of fried chicken, the roasted pork skin, the duck skin that tastes so rich. But here's the truth, the skin is mostly fat and not the good kind. It's saturated fat that thickens your blood, raises your cholesterol, and sets you on a path toward clogged arteries. It may delight your tongue for a moment, but it burdens your heart for years. Now let me pause here. I am not telling you that you can never enjoy these foods again. Life is about balance, about joy. But the problem comes when these foods become staples, when they dominate our plates week after week. That's when the silent damage accumulates. The good news, awareness is power. Once you see these foods for what they truly are, not just comfort, but risk, you can begin to choose differently. You can shift your comfort to foods that heal rather than harm. In the next part of our journey, I will share with you the alternatives. Foods that don't just avoid harm, but actively clean your arteries, lower your cholesterol, and give your heart the relief it longs for. Because eating well is not about denial. It's about choosing wisely with love for the life you still want to live. Healing foods and gentle lifestyle changes. We've spoken about the foods that betray us. Now let's turn the page because the story doesn't end there. For every food that harms, there is one that heals. For every bite that clogs the arteries, there is one that opens them, cleans them, renews them. I want you to imagine your kitchen, your dining table. Imagine it not as a battlefield, but as a pharmacy of nature where the choices you make become prescriptions for health written by your own hands. Let's begin with something simple, oats. A humble bowl of oatmeal in the morning, sprinkled with berries or a handful of walnuts, is more powerful than many people realize. Oats contain soluble fiber, which acts like a sponge in your digestive system. It binds to cholesterol, carrying it out of your body before it can enter your bloodstream. I've seen patients lower their LDL cholesterol by 10, even 15%, just by adding oats to their daily breakfast. No magic pill, just the steady power of nature. Next, fruits and vegetables. Bright colors on your plate mean powerful protection for your heart. The reds of tomatoes, the greens of spinach and kale, the oranges of carrots, the purples of blueberries. Each carries antioxidants that repair the damage in your arteries, soothing the inflammation that cholesterol thrives on. Think of them as little guardians sweeping through your bloodstream with gentle brooms, clearing debris, keeping the highway open. Then there are healthy fats. Yes, fats can be friends. Foods like avocados, almonds, chia seeds, and especially olive oil provide monounsaturated fats that raise your good cholesterol, HDL. Unlike LDL, which clings and clogs, HDL is like the cleanup crew. It patrols your arteries, picking up excess cholesterol and carrying it back to the liver for disposal. I often tell my patients, if you love oil, switch to olive. It's not just tradition from the Mediterranean. It's medicine on your salad, your vegetables, your bread. Fish, salmon, mackerel, sardines, rich in omega-3 fatty acids that not only lower triglycerides, but also calm the electrical rhythms of the heart, reducing the risk of sudden arrhythmia. I'll never forget one patient, a retired teacher, who began eating salmon twice a week. 6 months later, not only had her cholesterol numbers improved, but she told me her memory was sharper, her mood steadier. Science confirms what she felt. Omega-3s are as good for the brain as they are for the heart. Now let's step beyond food for a moment, because health is never just about what we eat, it's about how we live. Movement. Our bodies were never designed for stillness. Yet many seniors find themselves sitting more, watching TV, reading, resting. Rest is important, yes, but stillness without movement is dangerous. Walking even slowly is one of the most powerful medicines for high cholesterol. When you walk, your muscles demand energy, pulling fats out of your blood to use as fuel. Your blood vessels open wider, your circulation improves, and your heart grows stronger with every step. If you can aim for 30 minutes a day, not fast, not forced, just steady, joyful walking. Walk in the park, walk with a friend, walk with your grandchild. Each step is a love letter to your heart. Rest. Sleep is often overlooked, but poor sleep raises cholesterol and blood sugar. I've seen many patients fight their diet bravely, but lose the battle because they were only sleeping 5 or 6 hours a night. The body repairs itself during sleep, calming inflammation, balancing hormones. If you want your numbers to improve, guard your sleep as fiercely as you guard your diet. And finally, stress. Stress is an invisible fuel for cholesterol. When we are anxious, our body produces hormones that raise blood pressure and worsen blood lipids. Seniors often carry quiet burdens, financial worries, loneliness, grief. These are not small things. They weigh on the heart not only emotionally but physically. I encourage practices like deep breathing, meditation, prayer, or simply sitting quietly in the morning sun. These are not luxuries. They are medicines for the soul and in turn for the body. Friends, I want you to see this clearly. Lowering cholesterol is not punishment. It is not about losing joy at the table or giving up everything you love. It is about trading what steals your life for what gives it back. It is about choosing the foods and habits that help you rise in the morning with strength, that let you hold your grandchild's hand a little longer, that keep you here present, alive. One of my patients once told me, after 6 months of changes, "Doc, I thought I was sacrificing, but it turns out I was investing, and what I got back was freedom." That is the gift waiting for you too. In the next section, we'll explore what change actually looks like in daily life. Not theory, not distant goals, but practical steps, a roadmap for 7 days. 1 week of choices that can begin to turn the tide for your cholesterol, your heart, and your life. The 7-day plan in closing. So far, we've spoken about the dangers of cholesterol, the foods that betray us, and the ones that heal us. But I know what you may be wondering now, Doctor. How do I actually start? What does this look like in my daily life? I want to make this simple for you. Let's not think in terms of years or even months. Let's think in terms of 7 days, 1 week. That's all. because 1 week is enough to feel the difference, to notice the lightness, and to give you the confidence to continue. Day 1, begin with breakfast. Instead of bacon and eggs fried in oil, start with oatmeal. Add blueberries, walnuts, maybe a drizzle of honey. Oats will begin sweeping cholesterol from your bloodstream. Berries will fight inflammation, and nuts will bring healthy fats. By the end of the morning, your heart will already feel lighter. Day 2, add color to your plate. At lunch and dinner, look down at your plate. Ask yourself, how many colors do I see? Greens, reds, oranges, purples. Each color is a gift. Fill half your plate with vegetables. It doesn't need to be fancy. Even a simple salad with olive oil can begin healing the lining of your arteries. Day 3, replace the meat. Tonight, instead of red meat, try fish. Grill a piece of salmon or bake a piece of trout. Season it with herbs, lemon, a touch of garlic. Not only will you enjoy the flavor, but you'll give your body omega-3s that lower triglycerides and soothe your heart. Day 4, move gently. Take a walk, just 20 or 30 minutes. It could be around your neighborhood in a nearby park, or even inside a shopping mall if the weather isn't kind. Notice how your breath deepens, how your steps strengthen. Remember, every step is medicine. Day 5, sweeten smartly. Skip the soda, the cookies, the pastries. Instead, enjoy a fresh apple, a slice of melon, or a handful of grapes. If you crave something sweeter, stir a spoon of natural honey into warm tea. Feel how your body responds. No sugar spikes, no heaviness, just steady energy. Day 6, practice rest. Tonight, aim for 7 to 8 hours of sleep. Turn off the television earlier. Let your body repair. Let your heart rest. Good sleep is not laziness. It is therapy. Day 7, reflect and breathe. On the 7th day, pause. Sit in a quiet spot. Breathe deeply, slowly. Reflect on the week. Notice how your body feels, how your mind feels. Perhaps you already feel a little lighter, a little calmer. Smile, because you have started something powerful. This, my friends, is not a strict diet plan. It is not a set of rules meant to cage you. It is a beginning, a gentle step toward freedom. You don't have to be perfect. You only have to be willing. And here's the miracle: when you repeat these 7 days again and again, your numbers begin to change. Your LDL drops. Your HDL rises. Your triglycerides calm down. And more importantly, your energy returns. The fog lifts from your mornings. The heaviness eases from your chest. Life feels open again. I want you to remember something. Your heart has been faithful to you for over 60 years. It has never taken a day off, not even when you were sick, not even when you were asleep. It has worked beat by beat through every joy and every sorrow. Don't you think it deserves a little kindness in return? You don't need to wait for the doctor's warning. You don't need to wait for the emergency. You can choose today, right now. With the food you place on your plate tonight, with the steps you take tomorrow morning, the way you rest your body tomorrow night, you can begin the healing. I've seen it happen. I've seen men and women who thought their best years were behind them rediscover vitality. I've seen grandparents play on the floor with their grandchildren without fear of breathlessness. I've seen tired eyes grow bright again. And I want that for you. So if this message touched you, if you feel the stir of hope, share it with your family, with your friends, with someone who needs to hear that it's not too late. And don't forget to subscribe, because together we'll continue this journey, learning, growing, protecting the gift of life we've been given. Your story is not over. Your heart still has chapters to write. Let's make them strong, joyful, and free. Camera fades out. Gentle music plays. Text on screen. Protect your heart. Live with hope. Subscribe for more.